Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Cup of English. I'm Lily, joined as always by the man who once fought a chocolate egg and won, Paul.
I'll never live that down, will I? Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm here, fully recovered from my July Easter festivities. I actually tried to explain the sentimental value of that egg to my doctor, and let's just say his expression was very B1 level confusion. He didn't appreciate the vintage flavor profile of a sun-melted chocolate bunny.
Today we're tackling a topic that is the bread and butter of social interaction, describing your day. It sounds basic, but for B2 and C1 learners, it's actually a huge hurdle.
Totally. When someone asks, "How was your day?" the reflex is to say, "Fine, thanks. You?" But that's a conversation killer. It's like slamming a door in someone's face.
Exactly. To reach that C1 level, you need to treat your day like a narrative. It's about storytelling. You need to use descriptions that paint a picture, express your social battery levels, and use precise verbs instead of just went or did.
So, today we're going to break down a full day, from the moment the dreaded alarm goes off to the moment we finally crash. We'll look at the vocabulary of productivity, the language of frustration, and how to talk about unwinding.
Let's start with the crack of dawn. Paul, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm a reluctant morning person. I aspire to have one of those miracle mornings you see on YouTube. Meditation, lemon water, journaling. But in reality, I just hit the snooze button until it's physically impossible to stay in bed without losing my job. I once tried one of those 5 a.m. club routines. I woke up, meditated for 3 minutes, and then immediately fell asleep on my yoga mat and had a very vivid dream that I was a slice of toast. I woke up at 9 a.m. smelling of butter. It was a disaster.
So, you're not a fan of the crack of dawn?
Not in the slightest. I usually feel a bit groggy for the first 20 minutes. I need my caffeine fix before I can even process human speech. My brain is essentially offline until that first sip of coffee. Seriously, if you talk to me before my coffee, you're not talking to Paul. You're talking to a grumpy Neanderthal who only knows 3 words: hot, brown, and drink.
See, I'm the opposite. I find the morning to be my most prolific time. I like the silence. I use that time to map out my day. If I don't have a clear game plan by 8 a.m., I feel completely discombobulated. But even my game plan can fail. Last week, I was so focused on mapping out my day that I accidentally poured orange juice into my cereal instead of milk. I was so discombobulated that I actually took 2 bites before I realized my breakfast tasted like a citrus nightmare.
Discombobulated. What a fantastic C1 word. It means confused and out of sorts.
Exactly. And notice how we're describing our habits. I used prolific instead of productive. Paul mentioned hitting the snooze button and being groggy. This is how you add texture to your English.
And then there's the commute. Whether it's walking to the next room for a Zoom call or sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, it sets the tone for the day. Yesterday, my commute was a comedy of errors. I forgot my keys, then my umbrella, and by the time I got to the station, I'd missed the express train. And to make matters worse, while I was running for the train, my umbrella, the one I'd finally found, decided to turn inside out in a gust of wind. I looked like I was carrying a broken satellite dish. A very wet, very angry satellite dish.
So you were behind schedule before the day even truly began?
I was chasing my tail all morning, Lily.
Now, let's talk about the meat of the day, work or study. This is where we often feel the most stress.
Right, the 9 to 5, or for many of us now, the 9 to whenever the boss stops emailing.
My day yesterday was a marathon of back-to-back meetings. I felt like I was being micromanaged every step of the way. Have you ever had a boss who just won't let go of the reins? I once had a boss who asked me to CC him on an email to myself. I'm not joking. He wanted to stay in the loop regarding my own thoughts. Talk about being micromanaged to the point of insanity.
Ugh, the worst. It's so counterproductive. I prefer a hands-off approach. Yesterday, though, I had the opposite problem. I was left to my own devices, which sounds great, but I had so much on my plate that I didn't know where to start. I was paralyzed by choice. I sat there staring at my screen, and I actually spent 10 minutes deciding which font to use for an internal memo. 10 minutes! I went from Arial to Calibri like it was a life or death decision. That's what happens when you're spread too thin. Your brain starts obsessing over the tiny things because the big things are too scary.
That's a common issue. You are spread too thin. When you have too many responsibilities, your focus becomes diluted.
Exactly. And then there's the afternoon slump. That 3 p.m. moment where your energy just craters. I found myself staring at a spreadsheet for 20 minutes, and I swear the numbers started dancing.
At that point, you're just going through the motions. You're physically there, but mentally you've checked out. I call that the zebra phase. Because you feel like you're just part of the furniture, blending into the background, waiting for someone to feed you or let you go home.
I had to touch base with a colleague to get some clarity, and we ended up spiraling into a conversation about, wait for it, vintage jackets. He told me he found a jacket from the 80s that still had a half-eaten stick of gum in the pocket. Naturally, I spent 30 minutes researching if 80s gum is still chewable. Spoiler, it's not. My productivity just cratered after that.
Of course you did. But even that is a great phrase, to spiral. It means to get deeper and deeper into a topic, often losing track of the original point. So, the sun is setting. We're off the clock. How do we describe the transition from work mode to home mode?
For me, it's all about my social battery. If I've spent the whole day putting out fires and talking to clients, my battery is completely drained. I go into hermit mode.
Hermit mode. I love that. You just want to hide away from the world. I imagine you sitting in a fort made of sofa cushions, refusing to answer the door unless someone brings you pizza.
Precisely. I don't want to socialize or network. I just want to veg out in front of the TV. Yesterday, I vegged out so hard that I watched a documentary about the history of the stapler. And the worst part? I found it fascinating. That's when you know your social battery is at zero, when office supplies become your primary source of entertainment.
Whereas I find that I need a buffer zone. I can't just go from high-stress work to sleep. I need to unwind through something physical. I went to a yoga class yesterday evening, and it helped me shed the stress of the day. Although shedding the stress is hard when the person next to you in yoga is breathing like a steam engine. I was trying to find my inner peace, but all I could hear was herp, herp. I ended up unwinding by focusing very hard on not laughing.
See, I'm more of a nightcap kind of guy. A nice cup of herbal tea, or something stronger if the day was particularly grueling, and a bit of light reading.
Grueling. Another strong C1 adjective for something extremely tiring and demanding.
And then comes the recap. My partner asks, "How was your day?" And instead of saying fine, I try to give her a highlight reel. I'll mention one win, one fail, and one thing that made me laugh. Yesterday's fail was definitely the umbrella incident. The win was finishing that spreadsheet without the numbers turning into ducks. And the laugh was, well, the stapler documentary. It had a very dramatic ending.
That's a great strategy for English learners, too. The highlight reel technique. It forces you to use different tenses. Past simple for what happened, and maybe present perfect for the impact it has had on you. Before we wrap up, let's look at some of the structures we used. We didn't just use I am tired. We used drained, spent, wiped out, running on fumes.
Running on fumes. That's when you have absolutely no energy left, but you're still moving, like a car with an empty petrol tank.
And when we talked about being busy, we used inundated, snowed under, swamped.
If you're snowed under, it sounds more poetic than just busy, doesn't it? It implies you're buried under a mountain of work.
Our advice for you today is this. Next time someone asks about your day, don't give them a list. Give them a vibe. Were you firing on all cylinders, working perfectly? Or were you treading water, just barely surviving?
Use those idioms. They are the icing on the cake for your English.
We've put a full list of the vocabulary we used in the description below. Go through it, pick 3 phrases, and try to use them today.
Even if you're just talking to your cat. Listen, Mittens, I've been inundated with emails today. I'm absolutely spent.
Mittens will be very impressed with your C1 vocabulary.
She's a very sophisticated cat.
All right, that's all from us today. Thank you for listening to A Cup of English.
Stay curious, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye!